So we are going to start our second unit today. So our second unit is today structure and bonding. Structure and bonding. So we are going to start our second unit today. Today in this lesson, we are going to see how chemical bonds are formed and then how to draw shapes of chemical bonds. We have to draw shapes. Today from this lesson, we will get 10 marks out of 100 of your A-level paper. You will get 10 marks out of 100 of your A-level paper. So, the first structured essay of the essay paper is created from this lesson. So, you should study hard this lesson since you collect 10 marks from this lesson today. So, we will surely get some MCQs from this lesson also. So, first of all, we have to talk some word called interactions. Interactions. So we call there are two interactions in this lesson. First one is primary interaction. Second one is secondary interaction. So today at the beginning of the lesson we have to study these primary interactions. Primary interactions. Today, primary interactions are the interaction forces between primary interaction are the interaction forces in between a molecule. So, if we consider a water molecule, if we consider some water molecules, let's assume some water molecules here. So, attraction forces in between the water molecule is called, this is called primary interaction. The interaction force inside the molecule is called the primary interaction, and today the interaction force in between these two molecules, the interaction force in between these two molecules is called the secondary interaction. Is called the secondary interaction. So the main interaction force is primary interaction. That means the force inside the molecule is defined as the primary interaction, and the force in between two molecules are called secondary interactions. So these molecules can be homogeneous or heterogeneous, it doesn't matter. The force or interaction force between two molecules are called secondary, and the attraction force inside the molecule is called the primary interaction. Then let's consider a group of carbon dioxide molecules. So we have a sample of carbon dioxide. Then if we consider these molecules, so this is the structure of carbon dioxide. You can learn this at the mid of this lesson. So then if we consider these molecules, so bonds or attraction forces inside the molecule is called primary interactions. These are primary interactions. Then the attraction force in between these two molecules are called secondary interactions. These are called secondary interactions. So then if we consider the primary interaction and secondary interaction, we divide, first we have got primary interactions. We divide primary interactions into three main parts. We can divide primary interactions into three main parts. So we call them as, primary interactions are divided into three parts. We call them as covalent bonds, then ionic bonds, next metallic bonds, then metallic bonds. So today, if we consider these covalent bonds, ionic bonds and metallic bonds, first we will talk about covalent bonds. So now you know there are two interaction forces, primary interactions and secondary interactions. So first we are going to talk about primary interactions. Then what are primary interactions today? Primary interactions are the interactions inside a molecule or in between two atoms in the molecule are bonded with primary interaction forces. Primary interaction forces. So before going to covalent bonds, Pute, tell me what is the use of what's the purpose of bonding in atoms? Why do atoms get bonded? Pute, tell me what's the reason for bonding for human? Why do you try to bond with another one? So you try to find a girlfriend or a boyfriend. So what's the use of that? Why do you try to make a relationship? Pute, the reason for making relationship or the formation of relationship is we have to be stable. So if we need to be stable, you have to form a bond. So let's assume there's a boy like me, and there's a girl. So these two try to get bonded to be stable, so they can reduce their energy. Today, after getting bonded, atoms reduce their energy. So atoms without bonds have more energy. After they are getting bonded, their energy is reduced. So these two get bonded to be stable. Likewise, all the atoms try to get bonded to be stable. So, if we consider a molecule like this, let's assume this is a chlorine atom. Then we know that there are 2 electrons in the first electron orbital, then 8 electrons in the second orbital, and there are 7 electrons in the last orbital or outermost shell. So these unpaired electrons, so these unpaired electrons try to form bonds, chemical bonds. So if you consider the formation process of bond, these outermost unpaired electrons will form a chemical bond with another electron, with another unpaired electron of another atom or with the same atom. So for the formation of chemical bonds, there should be unpaired electrons. And the spin of the two electrons should be different. The spin of the electrons should be different. So, when we consider these bonds, after these electrons get bonded, we call these molecules are chemically stable. After getting bonded, normally molecules will be stable. So, if we consider a noble gas, let's assume we are going to consider a noble gas. Let's assume I am going to take helium. So helium has 2 electrons in the last shell. So there are no any unpaired electrons. So the configuration is electronic configuration is stable. So they do not need to form any chemical bonds. So the noble gases will not form any chemical bonds since their electron configuration is stable. So after identifying or after the discovery of electron, Thomson assumed that J.J. Thomson assumed that electrons are participating chemical bonds. Today he gave some evidences. The main evidence is the elements with stable electronic configuration will not tend to form chemical bonds. Okay, but the elements with stable configuration will not tend to form chemical bonds. Then elements with partially stable electron configuration, they try to get electrons or share electrons to form a stable chemical bond. So then that's the main evidence that J.J. Thomson gave. Then if we consider covalent bonds, let's assume we are going to consider a covalent bond. So if we consider a covalent bond, in a covalent bond, that means covalent bond means two unpaired electrons of the same type of atoms or different type or heteroatoms, the unpaired electron with different spins get attracted. So these electrons will get attracted. For the attraction, electrons should be unpaired. Then spin should be different. There is a difference in spin. Spin should be different. Spin should be different, so that they can form a covalent bond. When covalent bonds are formed, electrons are shared. We call this as sharing electrons. So when covalent bonds are formed, electrons are shared to form chemical bonds. And when we consider the sharing of electrons, we call that as overlapping of orbitals. We call that as overlapping of orbitals. So if we consider the overlapping, let's assume that hydrogen and, so let's assume this molecule hydrogen is going to, hydrogen has 1 electron, so he has 1 unpaired electron. Then if we consider chlorine, for the formation of chemical bonds, only the electrons in the outermost shell participate. Only the electrons in the outermost shell participate. They will only tend to form chemical bonds. So we have to consider the electrons in the last shell. That means electrons in the outermost shell. So if we consider the electrons in the last outermost shell, there are 7 electrons of chlorine. So when this chemical bond is tend to form, that means the formation of bond between hydrogen and Cl, the last electron of hydrogen and the unpaired electron of chlorine will be chemically attracted. And they will reduce their energy and form a stable chemical bond. So then if we consider the real procedure or the real phenomena of forming this bond, we call as, I have already told you, overlapping of orbitals. Let's assume what is overlapping. We know that hydrogen has s orbital, since this electron is situated in 1s. So we know that s orbital is a spherical orbital. So there is one electron in s orbital. You know orbitals. Orbitals are the real probable place where electrons stay. That's the real place where electrons stay in the main orbital or the main sub-energy level. So if we consider chlorine, what is the orbital of chlorine? Orbital, these electrons are in 2p orbital. That means these are chlorine has a p orbital. So if we consider the p orbital, we know that p orbital is in a dumbbell shape. So atoms of chlorine is in p orbital. How to identify the orbital? If we consider electron configuration, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p5. So this is 3p orbital. So this is 3p orbital. There are 5 electrons. And this is 1s orbital. So since there are 5 electrons, we can consider these electrons. So there are 2 electrons and there is only one unpaired electron. If we consider this p orbital, the structure of p orbital, we know that electrons are singly occupied, then electrons will be doubly occupied. So these electrons are these, and these are these, and this is the orbital. So when a chemical bonds are formed, these orbitals will be overlapped. Overlapped means they will be added on each. So if we consider the overlapping of orbitals for this HCl molecule, we can draw that as like this. I will first draw the p orbital of chlorine. So we have to consider the last orbital only. So there are 5 electrons, and this is the orbital of hydrogen. So this is chlorine, this is hydrogen. Hydrogen has 1 electron. The 2 electrons should be in different spin. So this is a chemical bond. So the unpaired electron of chlorine gets attracted with the unpaired electron of hydrogen. So these electrons get attracted and form a covalent bond. Today the meaning of covalent bond is these electrons are shared. Today now hydrogen has 2 electrons. Hydrogen needed 2 electrons to get stable. So hydrogen has 1 electron and it shared 1 electron from chlorine. So now we has 2 electrons. So hydrogen is stable now. Then today if we consider chlorine had 7 electrons and he needed 1. So he shared 1 electron of hydrogen atom. So now it has 8 electrons. Today do you understand this one? Do you understand this one? So atoms try to form covalent bonds by sharing electrons. So today after they share electrons, they will be chemically attracted and they form chemical bonds to produce their energy to be stable. So today when electrons are shared, 2 atoms share electrons, their orbitals of electrons, their orbitals where electrons are located will be overlapped. Okay, you know overlapping? Overlapping means they will be put on each. They will be coincided on each. So today the s orbital of hydrogen atom will be overlapped with the p orbital of chlorine atom. So today there is a covalent bond between H and Cl. We can draw covalent bonds using lines. So this is the covalent bond of this line, and we can mark these paired electrons by using dots. So there are 6 paired electrons, and today there are no any electrons around hydrogen atom. Today I think you have got this one. So let's consider another molecule. Let's consider P molecule. Sorry, Cl2 molecule. We can consider P4 molecule, but it will be a difficult shape. So let's consider chlorine molecule, Cl. So today we know that chlorine has 7 electrons in the last electron shell. So chlorine has 7 electrons in the outermost shell. So these unpaired electrons with different spin will be attracted. So if we consider this chemical bond, we can consider the overlapping of this one. Let's consider overlapping today. Now we know that electrons are in 3p orbital. This also has 3p orbital. So we have to consider the p orbital. P is a dumbbell shaped orbital. And this one also has p orbital. So if we consider these orbitals, there are 2 electrons, and there is only 1 electron. Since if we consider the configuration, these two will be in the 3s2 and these will be in 3p5. So if we consider another unpaired electron here, so we have to consider 2 electrons here and 2 electrons here. So then these 3p orbitals will be overlapped like this. These two will be overlapped. Like this. Since this one has 2 electrons and 1 electron here, and there is another electron now we can see these two chlorine atoms share 2 electrons. So now they have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. So now their configuration is stable, since when these 2 electrons are shared, this chlorine has 8 electrons and this chlorine has another 8 electrons. So now the electron configuration is stable. So we call this direct overlapping as linear overlapping. Linear overlapping. That means coinciding of 2 orbitals on each is called the linear overlapping. The chemical bond formed from linear overlapping is called sigma bonds. We call these bonds as sigma bonds. Then let's consider another molecule. Let's consider another molecule. Let's assume the bond formation between nitrogen atoms. Let's assume the bond formation between nitrogen atoms. So we know that there are 3 bonds in nitrogen atoms. So if we consider the configuration of nitrogen, we know that nitrogen has 2s2, 2p3, last atomic outermost last electrons in the outermost shell. So if we consider nitrogen, so there are 5 electrons in the outermost shell. So there are 5 electrons in the outermost shell. So if we consider the overlapping system, or if we consider the orbital of this nitrogen, we know that nitrogen has a p orbital also. So we can see that there are only 3 electrons. In p orbital, there are only 3 electrons. That means all 3 are unpaired electrons. All 3 are unpaired electrons. Now there is another orbital of the other nitrogen atom. So there are 1 unpaired electron. Then if we try to overlap these, we can overlap only 1 orbital here. We can overlap only 1 orbital here. If I draw the overlapping phenomena, so now we can see so these are nitrogen atoms. Then only 1 overlapping is have occurred here. So this is linear overlapping. Then how these 3 bonds are formed? How can these 3 bonds formed? When we consider this chemical formation, this chemical bond formation, only 2 electrons can be linearly overlapped. Only 2 electrons or only single orbitals can be linearly overlapped. After overlapping this, after being overlapped these electrons, these unpaired electrons, there are 2 unpaired electrons in this orbital and 2 electrons in this orbital. So these orbitals will be chemically attract, but the attraction force is weaker than this one. Puthe, this one has a strong attraction force when these are linearly overlapped. When these are not linearly overlapped, they will form, sorry, Puthe, not this one, this will form bond with this orbital. The same orbitals will form bonds, but there should be different spin. There should be different spin of these electrons. There should be a different spin. Here also there should be different spin. So these two electrons will be get attracted, and these two electrons also will be get attracted. This is also an overlapping Puthe. So we call these overlappings are lateral overlapping. Those are the two overlappings Puthe. Linear overlapping, and Puthe, the next one is lateral overlapping. Linear overlapping and lateral overlapping. So Puthe, we call the linear overlapping chemical bonds as sigma bonds. We call these bonds as sigma bonds, and Puthe, these lateral overlapping bonds as pi bonds. These are pi bonds. This is pi, not phi Puthe, the real word is pi. So we call these lateral overlappings as phi bonds. So Puthe, if we consider any molecule, there can be only one sigma bond. There can be only one sigma bond. And Puthe, if we consider any bonds more than single bond, all the other bonds are pi bonds. So when we consider this bond, this is sigma bond, and these two are pi bonds. Puthe, if we consider any molecule, any covalent molecule, so there can be only one linear overlapping occur, and all the other overlappings are lateral overlapping, and we call those bonds as phi bonds. So which has the higher strong than the other one? The linear overlapping has, or sigma bonds has, the higher strength than phi bonds. So let's consider this molecule. Let's again consider this molecule. If we consider this molecule, so there is only one bond. So what is this overlapping? If there is only one bond, that should be linear overlapping. That means the bond is sigma bond. Then if we consider these three, one should be sigma bond and other two should be phi bonds. Any of these, any of these is sigma bond, and there is only one bond, so that should be sigma. There are two bonds, so one should be sigma and one should be phi bond. One should be sigma and one should be phi bond. And here there is sigma bond. Now do you understand about covalent bonding? What is covalent bonding? Covalent bonding is sharing electrons between two atoms, and when electrons are shared, orbitals get overlapped. There are two methods of overlapping. one is linear overlapping and the other one is lateral overlapping. Linear overlapping means the two orbitals get attracted or coincided on each. Then lateral overlapping means they are looking both of the orbitals and electrons get attracted in distance. So the phi bonds are weaker than sigma bonds. Sigma bonds get forms when linear overlapping occurs. Then phi bonds form when lateral overlapping occurs. So let's assume O2 molecule. Let's assume O2 molecule. So we know that there are two bonds in O2 molecule. So if we consider the last electron shell of oxygen, there are 6 electrons. There are 6 electrons. That means there are 2 unpaired electrons there. Why is that? Since the electron configuration is 2s2 2p4, since electron configuration is 2s2 2p4, if we consider p orbital, there are 2 unpaired electrons. There are 2 unpaired electrons. So if we consider another oxygen molecule, there are another 2 unpaired electrons. So if we consider the overlapping phenomena, so this one has one p orbital. So there are 2 paired electrons and 2 unpaired electrons. Then this one also has two paired electrons and 1 unpaired electrons, and there is another unpaired electron. So these unpaired electrons will be linearly overlapped. This is linearly overlapping, and these unpaired electrons will be laterally overlapped. This is lateral overlapping. So there is 1 sigma bond and 1 phi bond. So if we consider oxygen molecule, there is a sigma bond and a pi bond. Okay, I think now you can understand this one. It may not be understand very much, but you will. I think you had got a real understanding or a little realization of this phenomena. Okay. After drawing these molecules, you will completely understand this lesson. Until there may be some doubts, since we cannot really see this, we are only imagining this. Okay, scientists have created imaginary designs to understand these molecules about these phenomena about molecules. So it does not matter if you do not understand everything. We will make this lesson step by step, and we will understand this one at the end of the lesson after drawing these molecules. So I think you got some idea about overlapping. So let's write these things and let's go to the some another facts also. First put the topic structure and bonding. Second unit is structure and bonding. So put the topic structure and bonding. To the right below, atoms atoms which have unpaired electrons, atoms which have unpaired electrons, atoms which have unpaired electrons tend to form chemical bonds to form stable molecules, when bonds are formed, the energy of atoms are decreased to acquire stability. Okay, then write there are two types of interaction forces. Formed inside molecules. First one is primary interaction. Second one is secondary interaction. First one is primary interactions and second one is secondary interactions. So let's consider a sample of water. So the bonds in between the molecules are called primary interactions, and the attractions in between two molecules are called the secondary interactions. Please draw this picture. Please draw this picture below. Quickly draw this. Okay, but then right, primary interactions are the chemical bonds formed inside a molecule. Then secondary interactions secondary interactions are the chemical bonds formed between two molecules. Then put the main topic, primary interactions. Okay, primary interactions. So if we consider primary interactions, we know that there are three primary interactions: covalent bonds, then ionic bonds and metallic bonds. Covalent bonds, ionic bonds and metallic bonds. So please write these three. Okay, then put the topic covalent bonds. Now we are going to write about covalent bonds. So far we have studied about some facts about covalent bonds. So put the topic covalent bonds. There are three primary interactions: covalent, ionic and metallic bonds. So now we are going to write about the covalent bonds. Right below we have discussed about covalent bonds. So right below generally unpaired electrons with a different spin. Generally unpaired electrons with a different spin will participate to form covalent bonds. Covalent bonds are formed in a way such that both electrons are common to both atoms. The common electrons are concentrated. In between two nuclei in a covalent bond. Then atomic orbitals. Next point is atomic orbitals atomic orbitals undergo overlapping when covalent bonds are formed. Atomic orbitals undergo overlapping when covalent bonds are formed. So let's consider some molecules. Let's consider the molecule of hydrogen atom today. So if we consider hydrogen atom, we know that there is one electron in the outermost shell. So if we consider the orbital diagram, we know that H atom has spherical orbital. So there is one electron, and today it will be overlapped with the other orbital of hydrogen atom. So today hydrogen will linearly overlap. Today draw this structure. Example 1 hydrogen molecule. Draw this example quickly today. Example 1 hydrogen molecule. Draw this quickly. Draw this quickly and show this as linear overlapping. Draw quickly, Pute. Draw quickly. Then put a right below, atoms undergo linear overlapping along the internuclear axis. Then we will consider the chlorine molecule. Second example, chlorine molecule. So if we consider chlorine molecule, we know that there are 7 electrons in the outermost shell. So this will be again linear overlap. So if we consider this one, we can draw. So this is the outermost shell. So we can draw the structure of orbitals, of p orbitals. We can draw the structure of p orbitals. So there will be one electron here and one electron here. So there are paired electrons. So this chlorine will form. So these are paired electrons around the atom, and this is linear overlapping. Again, linear overlapping. Draw this quickly, Pute. chlorine molecule, again linear overlapping. So these are 5 electrons. Since last shell contain 3s2, 3p5, these 3p5 electrons are shown here. These 3p5 electrons are shown here. So please quickly draw this today. First draw this one and state this and put an arrow and draw this one. Today draw this under this one. I don't have space, that's why I draw that there. Please draw this one today. Please draw this one. Please draw this one quickly, Pute. Then write below with a star and a color pen. Please draw. Please write using a color pen. The chemical bond formed from linear overlapping. Formed from linear overlapping is called a sigma bond. You know what is sigma mark? It was in your oral mathematics, but you had capital sigma. This is simple sigma. It's called a sigma bond. Then today let's consider the overlapping of N2 molecule. Let's consider the structure of N2 molecule today. If we consider N2 molecule, we know that N2 nitrogen has, so structure is like this, N2 is like this. So nitrogen has it has 2s2, 2p3 structure, that means 5 electrons there, but there are single 3 electrons, So we need the bond formation of these electrons. So this is a rough idea. So we need to consider the p orbital overlapping. So I am going to consider the overlapping system today. So these are the overlapping. So now there are 3 unpaired electrons. Here. The spin should be different. So now we know that these two can be linearly overlapped. So we can draw those as we can draw those as like this. So these 2 electrons can be linearly overlapped and these will be laterally overlapped. I think you can remember, these will be laterally overlapped. We show these attraction forces with dotted lines today, dashed lines. So first draw the rough idea. Then the two orbitals of nitrogen. This is 2p orbital of nitrogen. Then they draw this finally and show this as linear overlapping, and this as lateral overlapping. Draw this quickly. Linear overlapping and lateral overlapping. Draw this quickly, all this. And try to a color pen again, put a mark. Write with color pen again. So I think you have drawn all the pictures. Just if you if you haven't completed drawing this, stop the video and draw this quickly and write with a color pen. The chemical bonds formed from lateral overlapping are called pi bonds. This is pi bonds are called pi bonds. So would they write below again? If a molecule contain more than one chemical bonds, in between two atoms, one bond should be a sigma bond. And all other bonds are pi bonds. So okay, let's draw this structure, this simple molecule. Okay, don't worry about these dotted dots. These are electrons. I'll teach you at the mid of this lesson how to draw the structure. Just draw the structure. There are 4 electrons and there are 2 electrons. Don't worry about these. And today, please notate this as this is one bond, so that should be sigma. One bond should be sigma, and all other should be pi bond. This is sigma bond, and this is also sigma bond, and other one should be pi bond. This is sigma. Again, this is sigma. Then one should be sigma bond, and other should be pi bond. So okay, all these are single bonds. So all are sigma. Please show this Pute. If we have been given any molecule Pute, so if there is only one bond, then should be a sigma bond, and more than if it contains more than one bond, those are pi bonds. If it contains more than one bond, those are pi bonds Pute then. Then put those are 5 bonds. Okay, Puthe, please draw this structure and notate all sigma bonds and 5 bonds quickly. Please draw the structure and notate sigma bonds and 5 bonds quickly. Okay, Puthe. If you haven't drawn this, please stop the video and draw the structures quickly. So Puthe, now we know what is linear overlapping and lateral overlapping. So let's make a table about linear overlapping and lateral overlapping, Puthe. So Puthe, please make a table. Linear overlapping, lateral overlapping, linear overlapping and lateral overlapping. Draw a table with 2 columns, Puthe, linear overlapping and lateral overlapping. Puthe, for this one, right? For linear overlapping, right? Orbitals are overlapped. Orbitals are overlapped. Orbitals are overlapped along the nuclear axis. Orbitals are overlapped along the nuclear axis. Orbitals are overlapped along the internuclear axis. Internuclear axis. Orbitals are overlapped along the internuclear axis. Then Puthe, for this one, orbitals which are parallel, orbitals which are parallel to each other, orbitals which are parallel to each other are partially overlapped. Are partially overlapped. Orbitals which are parallel to each other are partially overlapped. Are partially overlapped. Are partially overlapped. Then Puthe, sigma bonds are formed. Sigma bonds are formed. Here, pi bonds are formed. Sigma bonds are formed, and here pi bonds are formed. Then this one is relatively strong. Relatively strong. This one is relatively weak. Relatively strong and relatively weak. strong and relatively weak. So that's the comparison of linear overlapping and lateral overlapping. Linear overlapping and lateral overlapping. Okay. So far we have discussed about covalent bonds. Today then let's write some properties of covalent compounds. Today put a topic: properties of covalent compounds. Properties of covalent compounds. Today we know that normally covalent bonds are very small. The first one is covalent bonds are small. Therefore, covalent compounds are also small. Covalent bonds are small. Therefore, covalent compounds are also small. Covalent bonds are small. Therefore, covalent compounds are also small. Then second one is, please note this down today. Please note this down. Then second one, since molecules are small, their boiling and melting points are small. Their boiling and melting points are small. Since molecules are small, their boiling and melting points are small. Their boiling and melting points are small. Since molecules are small, their boiling and melting point are small. Since molecules are small, their boiling and melting points are small. Then to the third one. Third one is since there are no ions in the covalent compounds, since there are no ions in the covalent compounds, they do not conduct electricity. Since there are no ions in the covalent compounds, they do not conduct electricity. Since there are no ions in the covalent compounds, they do not conduct electricity. Since there are no ions in the covalent compounds, they do not conduct electricity. Okay, then we can write fourth one. Covalent compounds possess specific shapes and bond angles. Specific shapes and bond angles. Covalent compounds possess specific shapes and bond angles. Covalent compounds possess specific shapes and bond angles. Covalent compounds possess specific shapes and bond angles. Okay, Putty, did you write that? Covalent compounds possess specific shapes and bond angles. Specific shapes and bond angles. Okay, Putty, these are the characteristics or properties of covalent compounds. Then Putty, we should know some new word called polar molecules and non-polar molecules. So, next topic is polar molecule and non-polar molecules. Polar molecules and non-polar molecules. Today let's consider some compounds. Let's consider some compounds like this. These are very small compounds. We will talk this in the middle of this lesson again. Just to understand this, I will explain this at this time, and I will explain this with hard examples in the middle of this lesson. So, okay, if the electronegativity difference between two atoms, are zero, we call that molecules are non-polar molecules. Those are non-polar molecules. Today we know that electronegativity difference of these atoms, this one gets 2.1, this one has 2.1. So today electronegativity difference is 0. And here also electronegativity difference is 0. So today, if the electronegativity difference of these atoms are 0, then we call these molecules as non-polar molecules. So these are non-polar molecules. These are non-polar molecules. Then today, if we consider this molecule, this one has 2.1 and this one has 3. So there is a electronegativity difference of 0.9. So today we call these molecules with electronegativity difference are polar molecules. We call these as polar molecules. So today, since this one has an electronegativity difference, we call this as polar molecule. Today we call these as polar molecules since when there is an electronegative difference, the most electronegative atom can attract electrons in the bond towards itself. So today this chlorine can attract these two electrons. When an electronegative atom attracts electrons towards the atom, it will have a very small negative charge. Today we denote very small charges using delta naught. Delta. This is delta. So if we need to indicate that this atom has a very small negative charge, since it attracts electron, we can denote that as delta minus charge. Delta minus charge. So today, since this atom attracts electron, this one gets less electron. Electropositive atom will get less electrons. So it will polarize as delta plus. Delta plus. So today, We call such type of molecules as polar molecules. Polar molecules. Since there is an electronegative difference between these two atoms, we call these as polar molecules, and we call this type of molecules as non-polar molecule. When there is no electronegative difference between two atoms, those are non-polar, and when there are electronegative difference, those are polar molecules. Those are polar molecules. So let's note down these today. Put a topic: polar molecules and non-polar molecules. Polar molecules and non-polar molecules. Put a topic. And to say first example, not this one. Then right below the example, right below the molecule, since electronegativity difference of these atoms, are zero, the molecule is considered as a non-polar molecule. Considered as a non-polar molecule. Considered as a non-polar molecule. Non-polar molecule. Then today write this one, and write below. Since electronegative difference is 0, this is also non-polar molecule. Write the molecule, then write below, since electronegative difference is 0, therefore this is a non-polar molecule. Non-polar molecule. Okay, this is a non-polar molecule. Then we write this one, third example. Write this one as third example. Don't write this polarizability mark. Just write HCl, and electronegativity difference is delta electronegativity 0.9. Delta electronegativity 0.9. Put it right below. Put increase your writing speed, otherwise the time allocated for the exam will not be enough for chemistry paper. So, since delta En is 0.9, write below. There is an electronegativity difference between these two atoms. There is an electronegativity difference between these two atoms. Between these two atoms. Molecules with an electronegativity difference are called polar molecules. are called polar molecules. Are called polar molecules. These are called polar molecules. Polar molecules. Okay, then write the molecule again. Now indicate delta minus mark and delta plus mark. Delta minus mark and delta plus mark. Write these charges on the molecule. Write these charges on the molecule. Write these charges on the molecule. And Bhute, right below, the electronegative atom in a molecule, the electronegative atom in a molecule, the electronegative atom in a molecule will attract the electrons in the bond. Will attract electrons in the bond towards itself. Therefore the more electronegative atom will polarized as delta minus, and the more electropositive atom will be polarized as delta plus. So Bhute, there are two charges, delta plus and delta minus. So we call these type of molecules as dipolar molecule. These are dipolar molecules. Okay, since these ions contain two poles or two induced charges, we call these as dipolar molecule. Put it right below. Since there are two polarized charges on the molecule, these type of molecules are called dipolar molecule. Okay, then put another small topic, bond strength of bond strength of 17 group elements. Bond strength of 17 group elements. Okay, we can write this as halogens also. 17 group halogens. Bond strength of 17 group halogens. Okay, the variation is like this. The variation is like this. So this is fluorine, bromine and iodine. Fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. Okay, which atom or which molecule has the highest bond strength? Which molecule has the highest bond strength? Chlorine has the highest bond strength. Okay, chlorine has the highest bond strength. So okay, we should be able to explain this phenomena using bond strength. We have to explain this phenomena using bond strength. So today we can say that since chlorine has more bonds than fluorine, chlorine has the highest bond strength. Highest bond strength. Today we consider these bromine and iodine. They have large radius than chlorine. Therefore, their bond strength decreases downwards. But if we consider fluorine and chlorine has more attraction forces than fluorine. Okay. So, how can we explain that? If we consider the electron configuration of fluorine and chlorine, we know that fluorine has 2s2p5 configuration and chlorine has 3s2, 3p5 and 3d0 configuration. So, okay, if we consider the electron configuration, we can observe that there are empty 3d orbitals. So, okay, since these electrons can move to this 3d orbital, there can be more attraction forces for chlorine than fluorine. Today. So today, did you understand that? Do you realize what's the reason for chlorine has a higher bond energy than fluorine? So say put a topic, bond strength of 17 group halogens. And draw this graph. Okay. Quickly draw this graph. Draw this graph. Y-axis is bond energy. This is bond energy. Okay, Bude? Then right below. Since chlorine atoms have an empty d orbital, electrons of chlorine atom can move to 3d orbital, Therefore, they can form additional bonds with d orbital and they are relatively higher than the bonds of fluorine, and they are relatively higher than the bonds of fluorine, and they are relatively higher than the bonds of fluorine, and they are relatively higher than the bonds of fluorine. Since bond energy of chlorine is higher than bond energy of fluorine, Today we will discuss this graph again in 6th lesson, so don't worry about this. Just realize what you realize now. Don't worry or don't think more about this graph. We will explain this later again. I just explained you since this is in your first lesson also, but there are some facts which cannot be explained using the theory in the first lesson today. So don't worry about it. Just realize what you realize, or just remember the graph today. It's enough for now. Today there are special type of covalent bonds. The most special type is dative coordinate bonds. So this is the most special type of covalent bonds. It's most special type of covalent bonds. Today we have seen that covalent bonds are formed when two orbitals get overlapped. A covalent bond can be formed. There are two types of covalent bonds, sigma bonds and pi bonds. So if we consider normal overlapping, here if we consider chlorine, I think you can remember there were two orbitals, and there were some electrons here, electrons with same spin. So here also there were some paired electrons. So this is a sigma bond. This is a sigma bond between these two chlorine atoms. So when this chlorine bond forms, these electrons are shared in between the internuclear axis. These two electrons are shared in between the internuclear axis. Then so we are going to look at this special type of dative coordinate bond. Let's assume there is an orbital of nitrogen. So here is the orbital of nitrogen. There are we know that there are 3 unpaired electrons, and if we consider this molecule NH4 plus, let's consider this molecule NH4 plus. So if we consider this molecule, since N atom has 3 unpaired electrons, it can form only 3 bonds. Since N atom has 3 unpaired electrons, it can form only 3 bonds. But when we consider this one, there are 4 electrons. There are 4 electrons. So we should be able to explain this phenomena. So we should be able to explain this phenomena of forming 4 sigma bonds, the formation of 4 sigma bonds rather than forming 3 bonds using 3 unpaired electrons. So we call those bonds as dative coordinative bonds. So we can denote these as like this. So if we consider this ammonia molecule, we can assume that these, when we consider this one, what has happened? These 2 electrons are shared, or these are common for both orbitals. These are common for both orbitals. But when we consider this one, these 2 electrons are donated to H plus. These 2 electrons are donated to H plus. These 2 are donated to H plus. So when we consider this one, that means it has 2 electrons. So if we consider this one, it has 2 paired electrons, and it will give the paired 2 electrons, or they will overlap, the orbital will overlap with another orbital without any electrons. So if we consider this one, so this is going to be overlapped. Let's assume this is the p orbital. There are 2 electrons, and this will be overlapped with s orbital of hydrogen atom without any electrons inside it. I surely know that you did not realize this one. So let's consider again. So if we consider the 2 electrons of nitrogen atom, so this is paired electrons. This is paired electrons of nitrogen atom, and H plus means all the electrons are removed. That means this s orbital is empty. This s orbital is empty. So these 2 electrons will be donated. So this is the donor, So here is the donor. And this is the acceptor. This is the acceptor. This atom will donate these 2 electrons. This orbital will donate these 2 electrons to this one. So a new overlapping occurs like this. A new overlapping occurs like this. But the 2 electrons have been received from this atom. Have been received from this atom. So these 2 in this molecule, this one gives 1 electron, this one gives 1 electron. So both electrons are common for these 2 orbitals. But when we consider dative bonds, the 2 electrons will be donated to an empty orbital. The 2 electrons will be donated to an empty orbital. These 2 electrons will be donated to an empty orbital. So however I teach you this now, you will not understand this. The real phenomena will be understood after we draw the structures of the molecule. So just put the topic and don't write anything. I will explain this one again after draw bond shapes and bond angles of the molecules. So just put the topic dative coordinate bonds, dative coordinate bonds, dative coordinate bonds. And don't write anything. Please leave one page or one side of a page to complete this after completing bond shapes. So they leave a page, leave a side of a page to complete this one. Please leave a side of a page to complete this one after bond shapes have been studied. After bond shapes have been studied, we can continue this one today, dative coordinate bonds. So it's okay if you do not understand anything from this dative coordinate bonds. We will completely understand or realize this one after completing the bond shapes molecules. So today, that's all about covalent bonds. That's all about covalent bonds. Then today we have to talk about ionic bonds. We have to talk about ionic bonds. Ionic bonds. Today if we consider the phenomena of formation of ionic bonds, we know that when an atom with a high electronegativity gives electron to another atom, let's assume sodium, we know that there is 1 electron in the outermost shell. And today if we consider chlorine, there are 7 electrons in the outermost shell. So today this electron will be removed. So this forms sodium plus iron, and today next the electron will be absorbed to this one. So it forms, so this atom forms Cl minus iron. So today the attraction force between sodium plus and Cl minus, the attraction force between sodium plus and Cl minus is called the ionic bond. The electrostatic attraction force between the plus ion and the minus ion is called as the ionic bond. Is called as the ionic bond. So when we consider ionic bonds, they have very strong bonds than covalent bonds. Normally ionic bonds are very strong than covalent bonds. Normally ionic bonds are very strong than covalent bonds. So today how ionic bonds get formed? A more electropositive atom will remove electron, and the most electronegative atom will receive the removed electron, and it becomes an anion or the negative ion, and the atom which removed electron becomes a positive ion or the cation. So the electrostatic charge between this plus and minus ion are called the ionic bond. So put a topic ionic bonds. Put a topic ionic bonds. Put a topic ionic bonds. And write below. When a bond is formed, between two atoms of high electronegativity difference, comma, the most electropositive atom will remove electrons to form a cation. And the most electronegative atom will receive the removed electrons, and forms an anion. Therefore, a new attraction force between the positive ion and the negative ion forms. Between the positive ion and the negative ion forms. Between the positive ion and the negative ion forms. This new electrostatic force is called the ionic bond. Ionic bonds. Then put it right below. Ionic bonds are more strong than covalent bonds. Ionic bonds are more stronger than covalent bonds. Ionic bonds are more stronger than covalent bonds. Ionic bonds are more stronger than covalent bonds. Okay, Pute, then we are going to study very valuable and very important fact. We will surely get a question from this part, Pute. So study well this part and keep your attention very much on this new topic. So we are going to talk about the variation of ionic strength. Variation of ionic strength. Put a topic. Variation of ionic strength. Variation of ionic strength.